Hey, in this video I'm going to be directly comparing the OutIn Nano electronic portable espresso machine with the very simple and very popular AeroPress. So I think that if you're watching this video, you're looking for a portable single-serve coffee maker. I think that these are becoming more and more popular as people want to start making coffee at home instead of going to coffee shops and spending $5-6 or more on a latte or a coffee drink. When at home, you just need to buy maybe like a $20 bag of coffee and then you've got all your drinks for the entire week. Now, I do want to disclose right at the top of this video that I didn't purchase either of these coffee makers. OutIn was kind enough to reach out and send me their portable electronic espresso machine, which I very excitedly accepted because I wanted to get my hands on something that would help me make coffee at home. I've been a barista for a long time and I've considered the idea of opening up my own shop or doing like a portable coffee cart, and I wanted something portable to maybe make that little dream a reality this summer. And this was the perfect opportunity to try something out that I could possibly just have on a little cart and start serving coffees from just about anywhere. They asked me to compare it to some other popular coffee makers on the market, and another coffee maker that I definitely wanted to try was the AeroPress. As a barista, I've heard of this coffee maker for a really long time. Lots of customers end up using this as their at-home maker, using it to make cups of coffee, espressos, and they've always told me that it is a pretty simple process and that they've really enjoyed what they've gotten out of it. Now, the difference between these two is that since I know this one is so popular, I wanted to see if it was overrated, and because this one, I actually have never heard of OutIn before they've reached out to me, if I'm honest, and I wanted to really test this out, and I thought that this would be the most interesting comparison to see whether an electronic machine is better than one of the most simple coffee makers that you can buy. Now, there's not much that you could talk about when it just comes to coffee makers, and the only way you can really compare them is by making a similar cup of coffee with both machines. So that's exactly what I did. I've used these over the last month and I've really enjoyed the products that both of them have given me. They're both capable of making a small cup of coffee or a espresso. If I'm honest, I've always done the espresso. I think that's what's been most interesting to me as somebody who wants to start drinking coffee at home. I would love to get a milk frother and steamer and be able to make my own cappuccinos out of my own home and just be able to enjoy those while sitting at my desk. Now, I'm using the OutIn Nano with one of their premium attachments available. This is a premium coffee basket that does a double shot of espresso. They have single shot of espresso baskets included with the maker. With this little basket here, you can make a double shot of espresso, which is exactly what I've been using throughout the entire time I've used the OutIn Nano. This little basket comes with a rim so then coffee doesn't fall in while you're putting it in, a tamper, and even like a little tool to flatten the grounds if you really need it. I think that the sounds that this all makes is very satisfying. I also like the feel of this machine. I think it's really great, and I think that this kit is such a nice portable coffee kit. You could easily toss this in a bag or put it in a water bottle holder and carry this around anywhere with you. And I don't even think people would give it a second glance. I mean, it does just look like a water bottle. So if you're looking for something portable, I mean, it's no question, between these two, this is the one to go for if you want something that you can just run and gun and make an espresso from anywhere.
So without talking too much more, let's finally make an espresso with the OutIn Nano. And I'm using that premium kit that I mentioned earlier. And for this shot, I'm using a Puerto Rican roast that I really like. And although I don't have a scale for this, using the tamper, I'm able to get this really nice compressed shot that's ready to be pulled. You simply just have to screw on the portafilter and heat up some water. This machine does heat up water on its own, but it does drain the battery much faster than if you were to just heat up water separately and add it to the top of the machine prior to pulling the shot. When pulling a shot on this machine, all you have to do is hit the button for 2 seconds until it beeps. Then you just have to hold it over whatever vessel you want that shot to be in, until it's done. As you can tell, it's not the quietest coffee maker, but rarely do you ever find one that's quiet. I'm still learning how to make the perfect shot with this machine, but this is how I make my double shots of espresso right now with it. After the machine is done pulling, it has this nice cup that you can just set the machine on. It sort of acts like a stand for this machine, but also if you were out and about, like if you're sitting in a park and you wanted to make a cup of coffee or espresso, you could technically just use that cup as the cup and you wouldn't have to bring an extra mug with you.
Simply just looking at the AeroPress, everything that is in front of you is what you get. So you get the filter piece that goes on the bottom. You got the bottom piece that has a couple numbers that show you water amounts. And then you have the plunger that applies the pressure to the coffee. There's nothing more to talk about here, but one comparison I do want to make to the OutIn Nano is that this one sits on top of a cup. When brewing with the AeroPress, you can place this on top of a cup, and that's where you press all the coffee down into the cup below. With the OutIn Nano, unfortunately, if you were to do the same thing, you would be dipping right into the coffee itself and possibly making an incredible mess and damaging your machine. If there was one thing that I wish the OutIn Nano had, if it had some sort of attachment or resting system so that it could stand on top of your mug and pour the espresso directly into the cup without having to hold the machine. That is one small downside. Both of these require some sort of holding or labor when pouring the espresso. This one, you simply just have to hold it over whatever you want the espresso to be poured on top of. And with the AeroPress, you just have to apply constant pressure the entire time that you're pouring your coffee.
So now it's time to also brew a espresso on the AeroPress. This is a very different process. You use these tiny filters and put them on the bottom of the maker, and then you have to put medium to fine grounds in the maker. What's nice about this is that you don't have to weigh it out. They have recipes simply based off of a scoop that they provide with the maker. You do have to heat your own water, but this is pretty simple, and you just have to fill up to a certain line. And then they also provide a stirrer that perfectly fits inside the maker, making this process feel incredibly intuitive. You let it sit for a few seconds before putting the top plunger on. Since I usually just use one mug for making coffee, I made the mistake of putting this on top of this glass, and I had to quickly switch it out for a regular mug as soon as I started trying to apply pressure. So I'm sorry, this isn't going to be my best shot demonstrating how to use this thing, but it is the same process if I were to do it all over again. The most important thing is when applying pressure, making sure that it is consistent throughout the entire time that you are pulling a shot. The more consistent the pressure, the more consistent the shot is, and when done right, you get a very impressively dense shot. And once you're done, one of my favorite things is the cleanup process. You simply have to pop out the puck and then rinse the coffee maker off, and you're all set for the next shot.
So to directly compare both of these coffee makers, over the last week I've been drinking this Puerto Rican coffee blend, and I've really enjoyed the product that both of these have made. I don't have two clear cups, but this is the AeroPress and this is the OutIn Nano. Now I did try the espressos before adding in anything, but both of these are like skim milk mochas right now, and I've really enjoyed both of these. So I got to directly taste and compare both of them this morning, and I have to say they are very similar. Although the OutIn Nano is a pretty premium experience. I mean, you do feel like you're a barista at home using this thing, and I'm sure that if you were making coffees for other people, they would consider this to feel a little fancier. But I have to say the simplicity of the AeroPress is somewhat satisfying to work with. If you're looking for a more premium coffee making experience, this is it. It still makes the same single serve coffees and also does the espressos, but using a tamper and pushing it in and like having this little ritual in the morning is really nice. It's something that I really enjoy about being a barista and making that first espresso that I get to taste. It's a small thing, but when you have a repeated ritual where you get to be very intentional with a drink that you're just making to drink, it can be so satisfying. and it's one of my favorite ways to start a day. So with the OutIn Nano, that brings that coffee making experience that I get at the coffee shop back home, and I'm able to enjoy making an espresso from my own kitchen. So one of the cool things about the OutIn Nano, it doesn't just press out an espresso or a coffee, it can also heat your water prior. So you could just put any temperature water in the top basket of this coffee maker and it'll heat up and then it'll press the coffee out. And this little cup is actually a coffee cup, so you can actually just drink your coffee out of this little cup that comes in it. I think that this is more than just an at-home brewer. This is more of like a anywhere, anytime type of coffee maker. If you loaded this up with grounds and you had a water bottle with you, you could make an espresso fresh at the park. You could bring this on a adventure, a hike, and make an espresso from the top of a mountain. And I think that that is what definitely sets the OutIn Nano apart from the AeroPress. This is one of the only coffee makers that I think accomplishes that. You don't need a kettle brewer, you don't need to heat the water prior. You would only really have to have a grinder or pre-grind the beans and put them inside the coffee maker beforehand. I think that that really goes to show what OutIn has made with this. I think that there's nothing really like this on the market that does what this does and as well as it does it. That is probably one of my favorite things about the OutIn Nano. I'm really excited for the summer because I'm definitely going to be using this to try to make espressos in the park, and I think that's one of the biggest selling points with the OutIn Nano for me. So when it comes to the final question, and probably the question you're most curious about, which one makes the better cup of coffee? I think that this depends on where you're at, because if you're in the middle of nowhere, there's only one option. But at home, you have to give it to the popular one. It's very consistent with its brewing technique, and the way that you press the coffee out really brings out a lot of flavor in the coffee. If I'm going to be talking about the one that I'll be using more often than the other, I'll be using the AeroPress more often. Just because the cleanup process of this is a little bit simpler, and also the process of making a coffee with this and being able to just toss things in and not really have to worry about it. This is the easier coffee making experience, but I'm going to be using the OutIn Nano so much, especially as I'm going on little adventures this summer where I don't necessarily want to go buy a coffee from some other place, or if I just want to make a hot coffee on the spot. This is going to be so much fun to use. I'm so excited to use it more. I was asked to make a comparison between these two, and I think that I've been pretty fair between both the AeroPress and the OutIn Nano. I do think they are both great coffee makers, and I don't want to say either of them are worse than the other. I think that that goes to show a lot because the AeroPress has been around and people talk about the AeroPress. If you're anything like me, you probably haven't heard that much about the OutIn Nano. And the fact that it even challenges the AeroPress in any way where it kind of meets the same quality standard, and the simple fact that it's just as enjoyable to use, if not more enjoyable, because you get that coffee making experience just at home. I think that shows a lot about what OutIn has made, and I'm very happy that they sent me their machine to talk about, because I think that it's worth the money. If you're looking for something portable where you can make an espresso on the spot, it's one of the only machines out there that's going to do it really well. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to buy either of these products, I have affiliate links linked to this video, and that goes to support me. So if you're considering buying either of these, that would mean a lot if you checked them out through the links attached. That's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'm actually doing this as a part of a daily challenge, so I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Everybody